There was a time during World War II when Asian Americans were herded into internment camps out in California. Scared we were, sure, but certainly it wasn't the time to take away an American citizen's rights just because they were born on a certain green piece of land on this blue ball. And you know, after the war, the same thing happened. Anybody of German extraction was under suspicion. Now, I'm not saying that the same type of thing is going to happen during this current piece of war we're in, or even afterwards. But it's worth singing about. It's always worth singing about.
My name is Lisa Kalvalich. I was born in Nuremberg when the trials were held there 19 years ago. It seems to me ridiculous to hold a nation all to blame for the horrors that the world did undergo. A short while later when I applied, for I was a GI bride, an American consular official questioned me. He refused my exit permit, said my answers did not show I learned my lesson about responsibility. Thus suddenly I was forced to start thinking on this theme, and when later I was permitted to emigrate, I must have been asked 100 times where I was and what I did in those years when Hitler ruled our state. I said I was a child, or at most a teenager, but this all just extended the questioning. They'd ask me where were my parents, my father, my mother, and to this I could answer not a thing. The seed planted there in Nuremberg in 1947 started to sprout and to grow. Gradually I understood what that verdict meant to me, when there are crimes that I can see and I can know. And now I also know what it is to be charged with mass guilt. Once in a lifetime is enough for me. No, I could not take it a second time, and that is why I am here today. The events of May 25th, the day of our protest, put a small balance weight on the other side. Hopefully someday my contribution to peace will help just a bit to turn the tide. And perhaps I can tell my children 6, and later on their own children, that at least in the future they need not be silent when they're asked, where was your mother when?
I told you before I didn't write a lot of my own songs. Well, I didn't, compared to the songs that other people wrote that I sang. But the union movement got me started. The civil rights movement kept me going, and the Vietnam War got me boiling. Here's a song about that.
Last train to Nuremberg, last train to Nuremberg. Last train to Nuremberg, all on board. Last train to Nuremberg. Last train to Nuremberg. Last train to Nuremberg, all on board. Do I see Lieutenant Calley? Do I see Captain Medina? Do I see General Custer and all his crew? Do I see President Nixon? Do I see both houses of Congress? Do I see the voters, me and you? Last train to Nuremberg, last train to Nuremberg, last train to Nuremberg, all on board. Last train to Nuremberg, last train to Nuremberg, last train to Nuremberg, all on board. Who held the rifle? Who gave the orders? Who led the campaign to lay waste the land? Who manufactured the bullets? Who paid the taxes? Tell me, is that blood upon my hand? Last train to Nuremberg, last train to Nuremberg, last train to Nuremberg, all on board. Last train to Nuremberg, last train to Nuremberg, last train to Nuremberg, all on board. If 500,000 mothers went to Washington, said bring all of our boys home without delay, would the man they came to see say he was too busy, say he had to watch a football game? Last train to Nuremberg, last train to Nuremberg, last train to Nuremberg, all on board. Last train to Nuremberg, last train to Nuremberg, last train to Nuremberg, all on board. Last train to Nuremberg, last train to Nuremberg, last train to Nuremberg, all on board.
Sir, I feel my whole life has been a contribution. That is why I would like to tell you about
I
it.
don't want to hear about it.
I think there must be a direction to answer the question.
I direct you to answer that question.
I have already given my answer, sir.
Let me understand. You are not relying on the Fifth Amendment, are you?
No, ma'am, I am not. Although I don't want to in any way discredit or depreciate or depredate those witnesses who have already relied on the Fifth Amendment. I am just saying that it's completely improper for this committee to be asking me these such questions.
And then in answering the rest of the questions, or in refusing to answer the rest of the questions, I understand that you are not relying on the Fifth Amendment as a basis for your refusal to answer?
No, I am not.
I have here a photostatic copy of the May 4th, 1949 issue of the Daily Worker, which has an article entitled May Day Smash Review Put On by Communist Cultural Division on Stage. The article was written by Mr. Bob Reed. This article emphasizes a production called Now is the Time, and it says this. Now is the Time was a hard-hitting May Day show of songs and knife-edged satire. New songs and film strips walloped the enemies of the people in what the singers called Aesopian language. And other persons participated, including Pete Seeger. Lee Hayes is recited to be the master of ceremonies. Did you take part in this May Day program under the auspices of the music section of the Cultural Division of the Communist Party?
The answer is the same as before, sir.
I think we need to have a direction, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Seeger, I direct you to answer the question.
I have given you my answer, sir.
The article contains another paragraph as follows. This performance of Now is the Time was given in honor of the 12 indicted Communist Party leaders. And then it continues with the reporter's account of the show. This reviewer has never seen a show that stirred its audience more. Add up new material, fine personal and group performances, overwhelming audience response. The result was a significant advance in the people's cultural movement. Now is the time is that rare phenomenon, a political show in which performers and audience had a lot of fun. It should be repeated for large audiences. Mr. Lee Hayes was asked while he was on the witness stand whether or not he wrote that script, and he refused to answer. Can you tell the committee whether or not that script was originated by Mr. Lee Hayes?
Do I know if he originated the script? Again, my answer is the same, sir. However, if you would like to ask me about the songs I have sung, I will be glad to tell you.
That is what you're being asked about now.
You've said that you would tell us about the song. Did you participate in a program at Wingdale Lodge in New York State? That's a summer camp for adults and children. Did you participate in a program at Wingdale Lodge on the weekend of July 4th of this year?
Sir, again, I will tell you, I will be glad to tell you about any songs I have sung because singing is my business.
I'm going to ask you.
But I decline to say who else has sung them or who I might have sung them to or other people who might have listened to them. Now, I'll let you decide if I was splitting hairs. But my songs are intended to be sung and listened to by everyone. Folk music is probably the most universal type of music there is. This next song, I only wrote the music to it. I had a great collaborator on the lyrics.